The game opens in a massive void of empty white. After walking around a little bit, you see the faint outline of a door. As you walk towards it, it grows more solid. Upon opening the door, you find yourself in an almost empty house. All the walls, doors, furniture, everything is all white. Only be able to tell them apart by their slightly different white outlines. When you first enter, there's a handful of items in the house. A single open book on the table, a stuffed toy on the bedside table, a toolbox near the back door, a pack of playing cards on the living room table, each of them emitting a faint glow. At any point during the game, you can choose to explore the house, or just walk back out the door you came through. After interacting with any of these items, you're reminded of a memory, and the house starts to become more alive. The book was your favourite one when you were a child that you would listen to your father read to you. Your character picks up and comments on how they remember their father reading to them, and how they would always drift off to the sound of his voice and the crackling of the wood in the fireplace, as well as the sweet smell of his pipe. Upon putting down the book, the once completely white house now has small parts of colour. Most of the house is still white, but the book had its faded red cover that you remember. The table it was on, now the colour of wood. The once empty spot beside it now has an old worn-out settee chair your father would sit in every night. The barren wall of the room now has a fireplace in it, on top of which was your father's pipe and a box of matches. Striking a match, you can start a small fire. As you look around, you see the faint outline of a bookshelf. You can take the book and place it into it. As you do, the empty bookshelf becomes filled with different books of different sizes and colours. As you interact more with the house, it becomes more and more lived in. Pretty soon, the living room has the old settee chair, the fireplace, the filled bookshelf, the old rug with the ruffle you would almost always trip on, the photos on the wall, the sewing machine in one corner, and the cabinet in the other. You progress through the house, interacting with objects in the room, slowly learning more and more about your character and the family of the character. Before long, every room in the house has colour in it, and the house feels like a home that has been lived in. As you explore around more, there's nothing else glowing. You've interacted with everything that glowed. However, the player can keep looking and see there are several things that show no glow or prompt to interact with, but can be. The faint scratches on the door frame that when you interact with will become clear lines measuring you and your siblings' heights through the year. The sellotape marks on your bedroom wall from the posters you hung up at one point. The ash on the same tabletop you found your favourite book on from your father's pipe. The damp spot in the kitchen ceiling from the time the bathtub overflowed. And most importantly, the scuff marks on the landing floor for where the attic ladder comes down. Upon interacting with the scuff marks, the entrance to the attic materialises on the ceiling. If the character decides to pull down the ladder, they're able to see up into the attic. Unlike the rest of the rooms in all the house, this room is completely black with white outlines. Climbing up into the attic, there is only one item, a single box in the middle of the room. Unlike the rest of the obvious prompt items in the game, this one isn't glowing, but it's clear it should be interacted with. Upon interacting with it, the player is given a choice. The only choice that will be offered in the game. Open or don't open. If you open the box, the whole house resets to being completely empty, but without any of the prompt items to return the house to life. Except instead of being white, the house is now fire damaged. If the player doesn't open the box, the house stays alive and vibrant. The player can then walk out the front door. If the player left before exploring the house, upon re-entering the white void, all there would be the white door. If the player found all the glowing prompts and then left, the white void would show the house as a single house in the void. Coloured bricks, glass windows, and a red entrance door. If the player found all the glowing prompts, all the subtle prompts, and didn't open the box in the attic, the void would show the house with a lush green garden and the street outside, fading off the further away from the house it stretched. If the player chose to open the box, the void would show the burnt down remains of the house, and whatever choice you make, the house fades away as your character is left in the empty white void until the player chooses to stop playing. This is Returning Home, a game that never was.